Hello, how you doing? Happy Thursday. Happy February. A lot of times my name is Tiffany Largy and I'm the founder of Onwards to Freedom. And later on today, I'm going to be teaching inside of our family group. I teach every Thursday night on different topics that the group brings to me on the best of what I know in building multiple 6 and multiple 7-figure businesses. But here's what's so interesting. I was talking to someone a little while ago and they actually asked this question, hey Ashley, how you doing? So they asked this question, which was, well, I don't really think I have a story. I don't really think I have anything to say. And I'm like, you know what? The reality is that I think sometimes we all overlook the fact that we all have a really important story. Like, we have not just a story, but each person has a journey that they've been on. I don't care if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, or even in your 70s, like some of the clients we serve. The absolute truth is that your experience, your journey, your life is not just purpose, but it's almost like we're responsible for turning around and sharing it with someone else. Like, we're literally responsible for breathing in our story, turning around and sharing it with someone else. But I think one of the things that's often overlooked is that we look at other people and we say, well, our story is not like theirs, right? I wasn't sleeping in the gutters. I didn't put my kids to bed homeless or hungry, right? We weren't homeless. And then we kind of get jaded. We're like, well, no one really wants to hear my story. Nobody really cares about what I have to say. I feel like there's 100 financial planners. There's 100 moms. There's 100 dads, 100 people who have done this, that, and the other. But there is no other you. There is nothing that no competitor can compete with your personal story. And I think one of the most often looked things, even for myself, like when I think about when I owned a multiple 7-figure business, we didn't really use our story as the backbone. Your story is the most overlooked kind of tool, marketing tool, leverage tool, sales tool, no matter what you're thinking of. It's the most overlooked tool in business today. Why? Because it's the one thing that your competitor cannot compete with. It's the one thing that your competitor can't touch. It's the one thing that your competitor can't manufacture. They can't shift or change. And because it's the one thing that they can't really do anything with, it's the one thing that you've got to lead with. Your story becomes kind of a center stage, because when you look to your left and your right, it doesn't matter. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what you've done. Your story is literally the gateway to the dollars that you don't see in your business, and or if you have a fixed income, like if you're working at a job, you're getting paid. I mean, I used to be paid $10.22 an hour in Miami. If you're thinking to yourself, well, you know what? I make X amount of money. Here's the roof. This is all the money I'll ever be able to make. You're wrong. Not only in business is that the missing gap between, I would say, 50,000 and 250,000, or 400,000 and $1 million, but I also know that it's the gap between the family making this much money and the family being able, or the husband or the wife or the single person being able to make enough money so that they can turn around and build their dreams. Your story is the only unique thing that you have. I would love to tell you that people come and show up at the event because I have tons of certifications and I've got all these degrees and I'm licensed and I'm a certified business coach. Absolutely not. I'm none of those things. I'm not. The only reason why I've earned the right is because I've got this story that allows me to stand on a platform and say, this is my experience. This is what I know to be true. This is what experience has taught me, which a textbook cannot teach you, which a textbook cannot serve you. You've got a story too. And if you're not making, like literally for me, every time you open your mouth, period, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur doing 50,000, if you're an entrepreneur doing 250,000, or if you're doing $1 million today, if you're not using your story, if when you open your mouth, you don't make money, something is wrong. If when you open your mouth, you're not making money, you're not generating leads. Now, hear what I'm saying. I didn't say when you open your mouth and you get on stage. I didn't say when you open your mouth and you're at a big event with hundreds of people. No, I literally mean when you open your mouth and you talk about who you are, what you've done, your experience, the roads you've traveled, whatever it might be. If you're not making money, then you're doing something wrong. I know that's a tough statement to say. I know that's a tough moment for a lot of people to hear, but it's the truth. Because your story is the stage, it's the foundation. Whether you sell face wash or you sell foundation or you sell life coaching or you sell chimney services, plumbing, business coaching, media, marketing, it doesn't really matter. Your story acts as kind of the backbone. So it's like, well, then how do we develop the story? Like what does that mean? I'm going to be teaching tonight inside of our group, Onwards to Freedom. I'd love to invite you to come hang out with us. We've got a really neat community of what I think are some of the biggest givers and big-hearted people in the country or in the business world. Why? Because they kind of stand out, and they're not looking to figure out what they can get. They're actually looking to figure out what they can give you, how they can serve you, what they can help you do. Your story is the beginning of how do I develop really great pricing. Your story is at the beginning of how do I develop a really great program. Your story is at the beginning of how do I really nail strategy and from a marketing perspective, right? A visibility perspective, getting booked on stages. Like it kind of doesn't matter how you're cutting this, or even what kind of a client you get. One of the greatest mistakes that we can do is run from our story. I've ran from my story for years. And it wasn't until maybe about 7 years ago when I was in business that I realized that my story was the one thing that I ran from, the one thing that I tried to avoid, the one thing that I wanted to be sitting in the background was the one thing that I absolutely needed. It was the one thing that for me was the only thing that made me special. It was the only thing that made me unique. It was the only thing that allowed me to stand out in the midst of my competitors. It was the only thing that allowed me to avoid the rush of everybody else who kind of looked like me, who was selling a similar product, who was selling a similar service. And for me, I'm like, yes, my story is it. And my story makes me unique. And my story, my story just belongs to me. And there is no other Tiffany Largie out there. There is no other you out there. There is no other you. So as you're thinking about, well, I got to, I've got to get my hands around what comes next. I need to really nail on this marketing thing. I really need to grow, and I'm not sure how. I need pricing and programs that I feel solid. You don't know where to start? Start with your story. Your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, it will never steer you wrong. And more importantly, I want you to be proud of it. If you don't know how to develop your story, come hang out with us in this group where I'll be teaching tonight. It is day number 1 of what I'll be teaching in Atlanta, April 2nd through this 4th. Which I'm crazy excited about, but it is the beginning. For me, it's the foundation of business. I don't think anyone can get to $1 billion without it. See ya. Share it. Oh yeah, share it, like it, comment, tell me what you're thinking, and more importantly, I really actually would just like to hear from you. See ya.